Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Fondy cast and the first in this Spooktober series.
Spooktober.
Today, we're going to be discussing how in space no one can hear you scream. However, that makes for really boring audio content. So instead, we'll be talking about the film Alien, 1979 Sigourney Weaver's classic Alien. I've got Cody and Justin here joining me to
You.
discuss this classic. Why don't we go ahead and check in and see what's been going on?
Right on. I'll go first. Exciting time around here in sports world. We don't talk about very much on the podcast, but football season's back in. Detroit Lions, my team, won today over the Bears, so that was exciting here in week two. And my Red Sox are also hopefully clinging to a playoff spot coming up here in 2 weeks, but they're kind of shit in the bed to finish the season, mostly because everybody's injured. But yes, those, and then I've been playing some games with Justin here for a game we have coming up, and I
Yeah.
think I'm finally on the last episode of season 5 of Peaky Blinders.
Hmm.
I've been watching it like 3 years. My wife kind of did like a spit take the other day when she realized I've been watching the same show, which is 6 seasons of like 8 episodes for 3 years, but that's just how slow I go through a show. So
It's about quality, not the speed of consuming.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the spirit. It just means Netflix or whatever that's streaming on gets more money out of you while you gradually would make your way through
Brought to
Yeah.
you by Payfar Streaming Services.
it. Indeed.
How about you,
Um,
Justin?
well, over the past several episodes I've been on, I've mentioned in the background the ridiculous and poorly planned remodeling that's been going on at work. It's still going on. But finally, after 2 months of this shit, the higher ups decided to do what they should have done in the first place and close the lobby for a week. Well, a little over a week. It started this past Friday. It's going through this coming week. The drive-through is still open, so I have to go in a couple of times, but that means I've got a lot of open free time ahead of me when I'm not going to be there, and that sounds glorious right now because I'm not going to be standing next to power tools that are going for hours at a time with little to no ear protection and what have you. Um, and I guess during that time, I've got plans to redo the paint in one of our bathrooms. So actually, earlier today, just went through, picked up all the stuff for that. Should be jumping on that probably starting tomorrow and working on it piecemeal for the rest of the week. Aside from that, Cody mentioned a game that we're playing and will be covering in the not terribly distant future. One that I was a little on the fence about, but I don't want to say too much about. It is recent. It is also horror themed, and it's growing on me. So stay tuned for that. It's something besides Silk Song that came out recently, so I'll just leave it at that. Um,
Growing on you in the figurative sense, not the literal.
I don't
well,
Since
I
it's a
know.
horror game, I want to
mean,
be sure.
you haven't played this game.
Would be in
Oh
yeah,
my.
would be in line with the game.
It would. But yeah, it's kind of it for me. Otherwise, more or less business as usual. What about you, Dan?
I actually just got back from a golf outing, my first ever, and only the second time I've ever picked up a set of clubs that did expectedly terrible. But drinking was more the goal than the actual playing of the golf. So that I was successful in.
Isn't that how
Uh,
golf generally works, though?
yeah, at least the fun parts. In addition to that, I have been enjoying catching up on a lot of shows, or at least being able to keep up. So, Peacemaker season two, Alien Earth, which spoilers, like, is something that we'll be talking about at some point in this series. I'm very excited to discuss that. And finally catching up on season, was it four of The Bear? Jeez, I think it's four. Yes, I'm almost done with that.
Yes. Okay.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's start talking about this little film called Alien. Why don't we go ahead and start really high level with the different characters, especially the actors, the performances. Thankfully, a nice tight cast, as obviously this is all about being isolated on a spaceship. Let's go ahead and start talk about the different actors who really stood out in the Alien film.
All right. So I mean, the obviously the one everyone is most familiar with, and the entire series really is Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, and I'd say good reason for that. She is an awesome character, always has been. And it's- right from the get-go, I honestly think she has the most personality out of anyone in this cast. Um, so shout out to her, obviously. How do we want to do this? Do we want to like each feature one actor and character and like kind of go round robin, or how are we doing this?
Yeah, let's each pick one. So Justin, that was yours. Cody,
Okay.
want to go next? Pick your favorite or your standout.
Yeah, definitely Balaji Bodejo, who played the alien in some of the scene. No,
There you go.
I'm
I
gonna
mean, that was
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Well, actually, no, and I'll tell you why in a bit. I will. I will highlight Yaphet Kotto, who played Parker, who I thought was a nice addition to the crew. Kind of a schmoozing, down to earth, realistic, capitalistic type guy who had some good dialogue in there as well, and seemed to have pretty realistic relationships with the rest of the crew.
Yeah, Mr. Trucker himself, as he was described fondly by fans as a space trucker. I'm
Yes.
going to put Ian Holm in a performance that is not typical, especially of his like kind of later works, as being the very kind of aloof and robotic character who ironically turns out to be overly robotic, as it's revealed that he's a murderous android towards the end of the film. Spoilers.
Spoiler.
Spoilers for a 45-year-old film,
Yeah.
46-year-old film. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, we can take a moment to dive into the story, unless there is anything else we want to dive into around the characters.
Um, I do, since you mentioned Ian Holm as Ash most recently. I recently did rewatch this for the podcast, and good performance there. But Tom Skerritt as Dallas, I swear there were times he seemed more robotic than the
Yeah.
android. Like, when he's examining the face hugger and whatnot, it's just like, oh, it's no, I'm giving him too much emotion. It's like, I see it's providing him oxygen, that kind of thing. It's just like deadpan delivery with no real emotional connection or worry or fear or anything about this
Yeah.
horrible alien thing that just is latched onto one of your crew. And I'd forgotten
Huge,
just how wooden his performance was at parts in this.
Not good.
huge. I'm not even supposed to be here today vibes from him.
Yeah.
Right, but at the same point, if I got called into my job and like, rats were like swarming one of my coworkers, I wouldn't just be like, "Oh, they're back again." That kind of thing. I would react more to it.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Are we talking performances or straight characters here?
Well, let's go into characters. Let's talk about this interesting set of characters in this sci-fi slasher film.
That's definitely one word you could use.
What's another word you could use?
Yeah, tell us how
Boring,
you.
tepid,
Oh,
bland, uninteresting.
and yet it went on to influence decades of other entertainment.
I know, right? It's crazy. Thank God Predator saved this franchise later. No, I'm joking, and I will clarify also. Maybe we're gonna get to this later, but this is the only Alien movie I've ever seen. The only thing from the property I've ever seen. So we don't have a
Oh,
fresh take here on the podcast, but I'm probably as close as we're gonna get. So
okay. Well, I
Now,
I will admit, like the first 45, so 7 minutes in, there's no dialogue. A line of
mhm,
dialogue is not spoken. I would argue 45 minutes in until something like of substance really happens. I mean, there's obviously a lot of like setting up of the environment and the feel. I think that the
mhm,
the feel of the film is very, very unique and interesting and different. But
mhm.
Cody, to your point, like it's a slog. Like when I showed it to my kids, I was like, all right, settle in. It's going to be a little bit.
I too fell
The-
asleep watching THX 1138.
I mean, I will agree that there are parts that could have been trimmed down. Like, when was it Kane? I think like he's going through searching for. I think it was Kane. No, no, Brett. I'm sorry. Not our Brett, but the Brett in the movie played by Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah,
Where he was going through searching for the newly molted xenomorph,
Mhm.
and I'm not even sure where he is, but he finds like this big tall chamber in the ship where water's dripping down, And it's like a solid minute or a minute and a half of like water, him just like letting water drip on his hat and then his
Mini
face, and
shower.
then in his mouth, then on his hat again, then on his face. And
Yeah.
it's just like that. Things like that could have certainly been trimmed back a bit and still gotten the point across. I do agree.
Yeah, the water in the mouth is very interesting. He's in the landing gear, which I
Ah,
guess explains a little bit where the condensation is coming from. But still, if you're getting condensation from an alien planet, don't put that in your mouth. You're not supposed to drink the water from the shower in Mexico, much less an
Right.
alien planet. Like, let's come on.
I
fair point.
mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Especially when you just saw something burst out of your friend. I mean,
Brett and
Yeah.
Parker were like the only two characters that had any personality to them, and it was both like, hey, make sure we're getting paid.
Well, and that is so it is a really interesting comparison because those two, they felt like the real characters that got stuck in a slasher film, and everyone
Yeah.
else feels like the kind of like lambs to the slaughter type.
yeah. Like Ash obviously had his own motives. I mean, you could tell, like, even as you're watching it, you can tell he's got something else going on with him, constantly nudging the rest of the crew to do stuff that they shouldn't really be doing.
Yes.
Yep.
So he had some personality, which ironically is, given that he was an android, that it is not what you'd expect. But
He had
yeah,
motivation. I don't know if I'd say personality. I mean, like playing his
sure.
character successfully made him have no personality.
Yeah, but compared to like Lambert,
Yeah.
I mean, she was just
She
there to.
screams once.
She screams once.
Yeah.
She like runs
Yeah.
the like some of the equipment and whatnot.
Yeah.
Dallas really like in terms of like even his character, it seemed like he was kind of phoning it in. Like he just wanted this to all be over with. It's like, ah, God damn it, someone got an alien parasite infected in them. This is,
Yeah.
I
You wonder
don't
if he
want to deal with
pushed
this
to
right
die
now.
earlier in the script or something. He's like,
Not
no, no,
this
no, I
shit
don't like
again.
Act
Uh,
two.
right. So like, but Ripley, I mean, despite being the de facto hero of this entire series, she doesn't get a ton of screen time, at least for a while in this, which is kind of interesting. Like they really put her on the back burner until the shit really hits the fan and she ends up being the survivor.
Yeah.
But she,
Interesting point. I want to spin off if we can because
Mhm,
um it's fascinating hearing about this film because I did a little bit of like kind of Easter eggs and behind the scenes stuff leading up into
mhm,
this. So we all watch it with the benefit of knowing, well, there's a series and Ripley is the main character in all of this. When
mhm.
this came out in the theaters, no one like Sigourney Weaver didn't get top billing, so no one knew that it was Sigourney's movie.
Yeah.
Um, and
Mm.
like apparently, it's Kane who was supposed to, because he's the one who wakes up first. He's a character like you're saying, got a lot of screen time before he got facehuggered. Like it was basically set up as a twist, going, okay, well, Kane's the main character. He's the male. He's figuring everything out.
Mm,
And then when he died, it was supposed to be that much more impactful. That like the first time you're watching the movie, you're like, oh wait, why is the character got all this screen time? It seems to be like the main male lead character. Why is he dead? And it's an element that like we unfortunately don't get to enjoy because we know, like, at least we know
mm.
which character is going to survive in this. But the people going to the theater the first time, that was supposed to be a big twist for them.
That's fair.
We'll probably
And
get to the other stuff later, but do you know either of you when the movie was made, did Ridley Scott intend this to be like the start of a franchise, or did he make a one-off movie and was like, thank God it was successful and now I can make more?
From what I understand, the script for this had been sitting on the shelf for a while, like probably
Hmm.
oh,
decades. And this was a response to Star Wars popularity and Fox
oh,
going, we need to get any kind of sci-fi crap out that we can.
Okay.
And
I
they actually, if you look side by side, there are a whole bunch, especially in the beginning shots of like
the
the panning
crawl
across the
or
spaceships.
yes.
Yeah.
You can see so many like, oh, well, we're going to take notes from Star Wars. This is Star Wars plus a horror movie. And that was kind of their initial thing. But this was not intended to be a franchise. At least they didn't start off thinking that.
Mhm. It's also Star Wars, but more grounded technologically.
Yeah,
Like this is a dirty, grungy ship that's
super
built
grungy.
for work, and stuff breaks down and needs to be patched up as best they can. My main like criticism of it is like the control room with Mother and
Yeah.
everything. there's like all those lights, and you're like, oh, that's just standard sci-fi, set dressing and whatnot. But there's a few scenes where you can see there's like words by every single one of these lights, and there's hundreds of them, like on the
Mm.
ceiling, on the walls, and the console in front of you. It's like how what human being would ever be able to keep all of that straight? So,
So behind
uh,
the scene, the mother is an interesting one because behind the scenes, apparently the what they were trying to elicit was a brain, like that you were somehow in a brain when you were in that room in terms of like all these little neurons firing.
hmm.
Oh,
And then you bring up
okay.
the the tech aspect, and I think if you guys want me to go on an extreme tangent, there is an in-universe explanation for the level of tech in the world.
Oh,
So I hope you're really ready for this.
sure.
Uh, so in universe, they explained that there was a group, a basically a Luddite group, like 50, 70 years before, who put out a massive computer virus and took a lot of human society dramatically back in the like computer abilities. So
Huh.
while they had still had this space tech, the actual like the computer technology running it, they've had to
Mhm.
rebuild basically from scratch. And that's why it is seemingly still more advanced
Hmm.
than us, but also like back from us. And
This is 50 years before the first Alien movie.
movie, correct. So this is a
Um,
society that had lost all of its technology, went through kind of a dark age and had to rebuild itself.
okay. I'm
I
just
don't know
trying
how
to.
much
I
that
have an
always
alien.
fits.
I have an alien timeline brought up here. So the first Alien in timeline order takes place in 2122, which means that 50 years before that would have been 2072-ish, which means that that whole Luddite movement would have taken place 15 years before Prometheus, and Prometheus seems to have a fairly high level of technology. So I have questions because
Um,
Prometheus takes place in 2089 when it starts. So
trying to see if I've got dates on exactly.
Well, at least we have that to look forward to then. Boy,
you shut your whore mouth.
I haven't seen it. I don't know.
You don't want to.
All right, well, let me hold on to that while I figure out some details. But they there's at least been some kind of spin to try to explain this kind of like
Okay.
technology that seems familiar, but is also old, but is also futuristic all at the same time.
Okay.
Early
Yeah,
in
it
this
is.
film, Lambert says that the ship is just short of Zeta 2 Reticuli, which is a real star 39 light years from Earth.
Oh yeah.
We could get to this actual place someday. Maybe.
I it would be nice. I have my doubts with current timeline, but it would be nice.
It's okay. We
Anyway,
have Avengers Doomday's coming, Justin. Just wait.
uh, anyway,
All right.
so sorry for the
Avengers
timeline
Doomsday,
tangent.
or as the fans call it, the midterm Avengers movie. Moving on.
Moving on.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the story here. So, human crew wakes up on the way. They've already completed, I think, their primary goal of doing some mining and stuff, but they get a message from the company, which controls everything that they do, that says they need to make a pit stop on this planet and kind of look at this distress signal. So they wake up, they're all pissed off that this is happening, and they're not almost home, organized to get on the planet, and they're instructed to go to this ship, or at least explore around to try to figure out what this thing is.
Mhm.
Get in, find a number of interesting things in this alien ship, including the quote unquote navigator, which is that large creature in what kind of looks like a seat with a telescope on it, but eventually comes upon the eggs. Uh,
Yes.
Kane trips in, opens up an egg, which is a theme, unfortunately,
Mhm.
throughout all the alien films of stop putting your face so close to goddamn things you don't understand what the hell they are.
Uh,
Which, how
Again,
come,
Prometheus. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah.
like the famous scene where the egg opens and then like leaches onto him, but the egg opens from the top, but yet the movie poster has it cracking from the bottom. That always bothered me. Just put that out there.
Yeah,
Huh.
it is inconsistent in that way.
Okay,
I don't have an explanation as to that one.
Huh. Well,
fair
I
enough.
mean, they needed to get across to, I guess, the audience who hadn't seen it that this is an egg, whereas usually show it as like a
Yeah,
an avocado that is split from the top. They might not
more
know
like a
what they're
flower
looking
opening
at.
or something otherwise.
Right.
Mhm.
Um, so are you still on planet, Dan?
Well, planet facehugger, and then obviously they got to get him back into the ship.
All right, well, let's pause on that planet because when I was watching this again the other day, this actually was, I hate to say like the most intriguing part because I've seen the movie before, but like when they're on the planet and they see the ship on the planet, like and the way it's presented with like that dirty, grimy, almost like you're looking through the visor of the astronauts, and they see that,
Mhm.
like that was a really cool idea and shot to me, I think, because like the concept, especially in today's world, which this was a million years old now, but of like going onto a planet and finding alien life, that's like kind of been done, I feel like, a lot of times, or some species in some environment that you just happen to be going through, wandering or exploring or whatever. But like starting it with this derelict ship that's like sitting on the planet, like that was a really cool way to be like, oh shit, like we are not alone in the universe or the galaxy or whatever you want to say. So then it's like a matter of, well, what are we going to find past that? Um, Also,
Mhm.
yeah, the giant skeleton, would you call it the navigator? That's on the ship.
Navigator.
Super cool. That's a super cool thing as well.
Perhaps you should have told that to Tom Skerritt as Dallas, who who remarked with absolutely no emotion in his voice, "It looks like it's grown out of the chair." Just
He's
Yeah.
seen that a
like
lot.
like he's on Quaaludes for the entire thing, and it's just or something. And like nothing phases this guy for most of the movie.
Yes.
uh,
A strong silent type. That's his character.
Well, I mean, we're gonna get to the rest of the movie, but I also really just, as somebody who has not seen anything else from this universe, really appreciated that there was this spaceship that was there that, like, more or less, I mean, is not explained. I mean, a little bit, but we don't know much about it as the viewers. But so it's like just subtly dropping this mythology that's out there in the universe, and like that genuinely makes me want to watch more from this because I'm like, ooh, this is kind of cool how they're sprinkling in these other things that are out there. So
Right. Opening some other doors, or like acknowledging doors are there, but not going through them.
yeah, exactly.
All right. So we get our facehugger attachment scene. Get Kane back onto the ship. There's that scuffle discussion where Ripley does not want to let him in, and this is where the theme of Ripley is right, and they should goddamn listen to Ripley. Really starts in,
mhm,
but this is a moment where, especially if post that like Ash is actively trying to get one of these things on the ship, you see him override, let him in because this
mhm,
is he's got this obviously primary directive of like get this goddamn thing back to the planet and crew is completely expendable.
mhm.
So they bring Kane in, they get him into the med lab. They're running all kinds of tests, which are like I really enjoyed the design and kind of the organization of the med lab. It felt it felt both futuristic, but at the same time like a fairly like cheap version that they kind of like, well, we have to put this on the ship, so
Yeah.
let's it's kind of the travel size like in
OSHA regulations say we have to have a med lab, so
right. So and one of the other things, if you're watching for signals that Ash is going to do something bad, Ash is obviously investigating. He is the science officer. He's looking into this. But anytime anyone asks a question, probes too deep, or Ripley, confronts him at one point, he's like turning off screens and trying to obfuscate details. He's trying to keep this all secret because his goal is to get this back to Earth. That is his only directive.
Mhm.
So in a complete surprise, as they're trying to get this thing off, and it keeps getting worse. Every single time they try to take off, it either like strangles tighter, or all of a sudden its acid blood is eating through the deck.
Mhm.
Randomly, it just comes off, which is kind of a non-starter or like a surprise. So obviously, this being a horror movie, this is the setup, the lull to kind of prep you for what's about to happen next. And it's interesting too how the next scene is the kind of like lunch or dinner scene Kane's back. He's feeling better. He's catching up with everyone. It really parallels the kind of breakfast scene, right? When everyone wakes up, they go to this round table. They're all eating. So you kind of get lulled into the sense of, okay, we've already seen this before. Like this is kind of getting dull. When in the midst of all of this, we have our probably one of the most horrific deaths in cinema, where a creature literally bursts through Kane's chest cavity while everyone else is watching. There are stories about that the crew didn't know this was going to happen, which is a little bit foolish because they obviously had the script. They could kind of read through this, but the level of gore and the kind of like in camera special effects were not told to them. So there's a fair number of those reactions, and you look and like that's genuine terror as like blood is just flying out from every angle on all these other characters.
And it was genuine blood, pig's blood, but they actually used blood for that scene,
Oh my God.
which that is nuts to me.
That is really horrific, but at the same time, like effective. It's still a tough thing to watch.
Yeah. So, oof, yeah.
So we get our introduction to the xenomorph proper, even though in its larvae phase, as it skitters off the table, runs away as everyone's in complete shock of what the hell just happened, which is a fair reaction to have in this. I can't visually, I cannot see that chest burster without immediately going to Spaceballs and seeing the chest burster in that scene, and then putting on the hat and starting to sing the frog song.
Yes. Uh,
But we have the chest burster, we have it run away, and then we have the crew sitting there going like, "What the hell do we do?" You got two things in front of you. One, you've got what's left of Kane, figuring out what the hell to do with him,
mhm.
and then you got this thing running around, and they kind of rightly so with what they know, choose to take care of Kane, and that they'll just figure out where this little lizardy thing ran off to at some point. It's not that big. How much damage can it do? But as any good horror movie, you kind of like you have this shock, this scare. The cast kind of recovers a little bit, and then when they finally decide to go off and hunt this thing, it's got a surprise for them because it didn't stay little for very long. I think probably special effects wise, they skipped quite a bit of the like, what does this actually look like? Something that you get a flavor of kind of in some of the later properties. But when they go looking for it, they find the shell, the castings of this thing. Another very gross, like molting like element to this creature. And then we get introduced to our full size baddie, or the big boy, as apparently the alien fans like to describe him as.
I did not know that actually.
Yeah.
Huh.
The big boy.
I love that restaurant.
Cue Dr. Evil. Dun-dun-dun. So how does this thing get so big so quickly? What's going on here?
They really don't add a lot into this film to explain that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They do touch on it, especially like in Alien Romulus. They do touch on
Romulus is
that.
the big one where they kind
Yeah.
of fill this in.
So
And
all they really have shown us is that the eggs seemingly hibernate forever.
Mhm.
So it's a
Well,
pretty slow life cycle, but then all of a sudden, biggity boom, and I'm 7 feet tall.
yeah, 0 to 7 in 30 hours or so. I mean, they kind of don't give the time it takes to clean up Kane's body and do the last rites and finally like mobilize to do this. But you assume that it's not more than like 8-10 hours, something like that, right? So this
But
is growing in a day-ish time period.
but I do have to agree with Cody that it had to acquire that extra mass from somewhere, and it doesn't eat anybody else in the intervening time, so it had to get it from somewhere. That has always been something I've scratched my head about. Like even with what we see in Alien Romulus, again, it can't just balloon itself up without adding something to its substance.
Yeah, I can see that, especially considering like how small it is at the beginning. If you really want to make a stretch, there's bugs out there that like kind of give their larvae material to like grow with, but probably not scaling to this size. So
Yeah, and we didn't see it like carrying a yolk sac along with
yeah,
it, like
right.
over its shoulder as it's running off or something. I mean,
Also,
So
the
that's
the
yeah.
chest burster alien kind of looks like a giant penis. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Well, it's fascinating you bring that up
It
because
looks like
let's
the
talk
Killer
about
Condom movie is what it looks like.
let's talk about how much genitalia is subtly and not so subtly put into this film. Because obviously, yes, the alien design, both from the chest burster itself up into the full-grown alien, there is a lot of illusions and sometimes outright like phallic shapes built into this thing.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
You could quickly jump into like the double mouth that it has and the penetration element of that. And then
Or
you
just the
could,
shape of his head in the first place. I
yeah, right,
mean, yeah, just
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
You could easily make that the face hugger, the kind of the inside, is very reminiscent of female anatomy.
Yep.
And apparently, some of the early egg designs were actually like instead of it opening up from the top, it actually opened up more to the bottom, kind of like leaning up with the poster, except it
Hmm.
looked rather reminiscent of female genitalia again.
Huh.
So there's a
Interesting.
lot of that going on, which is really interesting.
Thanks, H.R. Geiger.
Yes, and
That's
that
what
Eager.
that's
lost all the points with me.
Cody hates female genitalia.
Too many female genitalia references were removed for this movie.
Oof. It is like they leaned very heavily into like it, his designs in it. That is it is so prevalent throughout, kind of like the birth, death, sex, violence, like and it's elements of that are all in here.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's I do kind of wonder what Sigmund Freud would have said about this film. Just just because it's so blatant. I mean, probably would have looked at it and said, "Ah, nothing to see here."
Yeah, right.
But
Perfectly normal.
but
This looks
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, it's a gross movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the physiology of and life cycle of these things in the first place. And yeah, yeah, there's a lot to unpack in terms of all of that imagery and just symbolism and grossness and what have you. It's just from a visual standpoint, it's an interesting film.
Right. Also, since we're talking about like, kind of the visual elements of it, the and we were talking earlier about like the dirt and the grime,
Mhm.
but at the same time, the organic nature of some parts of the ship, and
Mhm.
obviously spoilers in terms of like the alien literally being able to blend in with elements of the ship later on, like that.
Mm.
That's another both Geiger, it seems like inspired at times, but other like set design, you obviously have like the use of light and dark, especially dark. Especially I'm thinking like when they're in the air shaft chasing this thing and they literally can't see like anything. Which I
Mm.
think out of this entire movie, that is probably the most, I think, tense scene. And the fact that it plays so much with like not being able to see and you have almost no sense of what's happening around you. I think that just ratchets up the terror quite a bit in that part.
Mhm.
Beep 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 beep.
Right?
It's getting closer.
What an amazing kind of like little element just to give you that like the heartbeat tension.
Hmm.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, some of the tech in this is just it's as iconic as like the alien design
Yeah.
as the themes, just because I mean you hear that ping and it's like you immediately know what that's from.
Hmm.
Or like in Aliens, you hear the sound of a pulse rifle, you know exactly what that is because it is so
Yes.
iconic. Which Cody, can't really identify with because he hasn't seen that one, but trust me, it's memorable. So
All right. So we're talking now about the phase of the movie where killer's in full form. The alien is starting to pick off the crew one by one. We have our famous weird shower mouth scene. And as the creature, this alien is getting through the crew, we have continual Ripley kind of advising them on what they need to do, and no one listening. And we finally get to the point where the plot is, or sorry, Dallas gets killed in the air shaft. So being the captain, he's the one who's got access to Mother. Dallas gets killed. Ripley is interrogating Ash, like, "Hey, what's going on? Why are we doing these certain things?" Ash makes up a outright lie about what the directives are and why he's making the decisions. And Ripley says, "No, this doesn't make any sense. I have the right now to go talk directly to Mother. I'm going to do that. I'm going to figure out what's going on." And obviously, in the course of this, Ripley is now let in on Ash's little secret, going, "Crew doesn't matter at all. Just get the creature back to Earth."
Mm.
Ripley goes to confront Ash about this, and this is where we have our big giant reveal. I'll bring up the element of someone watching this movie for the first time, like, and maybe so. Cody, in terms of your like familiarity with this,
Yeah.
was this a big surprise to you? Like, did you kind of get like hints beforehand? This confront scene and the
Oh, I think,
attack.
well, to clarify, I think this is the third time I've seen the movie,
Okay,
but I think no, I don't think it's just off the radar. Like I watched with my wife the other night, and she had never seen it before, and and she was like, "I didn't see that coming," and I was like, "Okay." So no, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I guess it's a trope that you could use in movies, but I don't feel like it's used enough, especially in 1979, that it was like a thing you'd expect to have happen
right.
with a character. So I do kind of question if Ash had been the last one left alive, would the alien have interacted with him because he's non-biological, or would he be just passable enough biologically that it would have killed him as well, or might have been interesting.
Yeah, that question kind of gets answered in the sequel. That's
Okay.
all I'm going to say,
Okay.
because we do see that kind of interaction.
I'll further say that Alien Earth decides to add a little bit more to that too.
Mhm.
So they do kind of bring it up a little bit more in the series.
Yeah.
But that in that too, I'll kind of save it to the end because grown up, I read a shit ton of Alien comics. And that question and how much they played with like the alien awareness and consciousness and stuff like that. I would love to talk about that a whole bunch more. And I'd also say that Alien Earth is doing some very interesting things when it comes to that as well.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we've got the Ash scene in terms of him attempting to kill Ripley. There is some interesting allusions in terms of like what that scene kind of like looks like in terms of what Ash is trying to do, and then Ash, like, you could make the argument that he might not be outright trying to kill Ripley. He might just be trying to like disable her. Like maybe like he wants to save her for food for the alien.
Mm.
Just in terms of the element of taking that magazine and trying to shove it down her mouth. Like I don't know exactly what his goal was.
It's a weird way to kill
It was
someone.
weird.
Yeah.
I mean, you would choke with that down your throat, but I mean, he's obviously strong. He could have also just strangled her.
Yeah.
It's a very strange method he decided to use.
You will not take your milk, and you will like it.
And I will say, in a movie full of practical effects, I think have held up exceedingly well. I think
Mm.
what he kind of talked about the actor in the alien suit, and there's definitely an attempt to minimize the amount of movement he was doing on film. There's a
Mhm.
lot of like, it's more menacing. He's just standing there. Apparently, that was the suit looked terrible in like a lot of full motion, so they really tried to avoid having a lot of that motion.
Mm.
But I think that the worst effect comes at the very end of this scene, which is Ash's head. They try to prop it on the table, and there's obviously like kind of a mannequin wax dummy head that they're using to like flip onto the table, and then trying to cut with Ian Holmes' head, obviously like sticking out of the table in a cutout.
Mm.
That really, really could have used one more edit. Oh my God.
That is fair.
So the alien, I think, in general looks pretty good, but like there were a couple scenes where the alien just took the alien's arms and was like, "Let me try to hug you with these human-like arms and cloth sleeves," and I was like, "Oh, this looks terrible."
Mm.
And it wasn't like we just talked about Star Wars, like stuff had been out by this point that probably did a better job. I mean, maybe they had a bigger team and stuff, but or maybe they weren't scary, so there was that, I guess.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah, the suits, like the alien costumes in Star Wars, were also generally a bit less complex.
Sure.
Like you had like guy with covered with fur with like bat ears, or Or Greedo, with the green skin, big bug eyes, and the little antenna, but otherwise he looks his arms are pretty much like normal humans, his legs are pretty much like a normal human's. So full
Or the
body,
butthead
like,
band.
yeah, the butthead band, which I'm sure Joe is going to have words for when he listens to this. But yeah, much the faces, sure, had a lot of complexity to them, but the overall bodies were usually fairly, minimally
Humanoid.
modified.
Yeah.
Whereas the xenomorph has like stuff sticking out of its back, it's got claws, it's full like sleeves for the arms, it's a full body suit. So I mean, it's a lot
Yeah.
more intricate in terms of like putting it together, which also makes it possibly more fragile. So I guess they didn't want to damage it, I would imagine.
Yeah, I could probably see that as well, I guess, just with the intricacies of what it looks like. I mean, to me, I don't mean this to be a shots fired or anything, but it almost seems like the Chewbacca costume looks more like a true alien race than the costume the alien is in this movie, which looks like a dude in a jumpsuit trying to hide in the dark shadows.
Oh,
Just putting it out there. I'm just putting it out there.
wow.
Maybe because I'm colorblind, I couldn't see all the wonderful coloring details on it.
It was
Yeah,
it was
the
all
xenomorph known
black.
as being the
Oh, it was
most
all black. Oh, never mind. Then I guess that wasn't it.
yeah, the xenomorph known for being the most colorful of cinema's horror monsters.
Which movie has the rainbow morph in it?
Ooh,
It's
yeah,
something
probably
fan
not.
made, and that is probably NC-17, I would imagine.
Suddenly, face hugging took on a whole new term.
Oh God. Oh, now our phallic conversation's coming back. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
All right. So we've got Ash's death and destruction here. Now that they burned him up. And they decide to take is actually Lambert's plan in terms of getting the escape pod, even though it's not really meant for that particular purpose. But hey, that's a way they can get out, they can get away from this thing, and they can blow up the majority of the ship and take this alien creature with it. Um, and I have to have a special call out to the self-destruct process in terms of being these overly complex. Like there's legally no way you can say you accidentally oopsie doopsie did
Yeah.
this. Like it
mhm,
is 100% like you know what you're friggin' doing, right?
mhm. But at the
So
same time, you have to go through and undo all 100% of that before it'll
I
stop. You can't just
know.
do like a part and have it be like, okay, shutdown process initiated kind of a thing.
Right, you think the oopsie button is a
Right.
good addition.
Yeah. But no, all of those rods, every single one of them has to be back flush with
Yep.
the container that they came out of, and all the switches have to be flipped. And yeah, that always bugged me too.
Yeah. It's very much like at the end of a horror movie, if you all of a sudden you had to play like Operation to like save your life, where you're like, trying to get through all these minute steps.
Hmm. I played that in horror games.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not unprecedented, but yeah, it is still it seems especially if given the hyper corporatized future that this takes place in, you'd think corporations would want to save whatever resources they could.
Yeah.
So you'd think it would be easier to make it to make an explosion not happen,
Yeah.
you know?
Or the other spin on it is like they really were planning on adding that, but like too many meetings and it didn't get approved. And you know what? We can just do
Fair.
it like this.
I like that actually. Uh,
All right, so we finish up the self-destruct, and then Ripley, along with the cat Jones, which we haven't mentioned yet,
Jonesy.
Yeah.
makes its way to the escape pod. And in a moment that it seems to become more and more prevalent in horror movies, we think we've done it. We think we're in our safe zone. Everything seems like we're okay, just to find out, nope, we're very wrong. And we have the aliens show up in the escape pod
How did the
when
alien get in the escape pod?
It probably crawled through the air ducts, got ahead of her, and like found
The
its
air
way
ducts
in.
connect to the escape pod? Do you
Well,
not
no,
see
but
a problem with the logic here?
they connect to the area near the entrance to the escape pod, and it probably like crawled out of one of those,
And then
its
the
way
alien
in, and
suddenly spoke English and was like, "Oh, the escape pod, the ship is under. Oh, I bet this is the model that
gotta
has
get
the
the hell out of
seven-step
here.
thing you can't discontinue." So I like that he showed up there, but it also didn't seem like he should be there. And then also, I don't really like what the fuck was he doing? He was like crawled up on a shelf under stuff.
Look, he was really fucking tired, okay? He just killed all these people. He
I
was
mean, he
trying to
did grow
break,
like 5 feet in one day,
and
so
then this bitch shows up in his escape pod, harpoons
so
him through the
awkward.
chest.
Yeah.
Turns out it's a different alien that was just living in that escape pod, and the facehugger's still running
There you
around
go.
someplace. Or the chest burster, I guess it would be at that point.
Mhm.
Hmm.
The cat ate the actual chest burster, and it's just a random other alien that was on the ship.
Uh,
Shout out to Sigourney Weaver's underwear, making an appearance in that scene. That is
I
That
Princess
was
mean,
Leia in Star Wars that awoke into quite a few things in people.
that was the scene.
indeed it was. I assume it's some sort of protocol for like getting into cryosleep, considering that they all exited cryosleep in their underwear, so maybe
It's gotta be.
clothing interferes with the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow overly freezes on and gets super gross and sticky.
Maybe
Ah,
Like free, you don't want to freeze dry clothes. That's
no.
terrible. All right,
Uh,
but Ripley manages to harpoon the alien, get him out the air shaft, and then he's still not freaking
ish.
dead, right?
Yep.
And then
yeah.
it decides to start climbing into the engines, which for a creature that seems exceedingly intelligent, that is a pretty dumbass move. But I guess what else is it going to do?
Well, it looked like an opening to the ship, you know?
Yeah, a little.
Maybe that was the original air
Oh.
vent it crawled in through.
Sorry, man. Real life Jonesy is deciding to
Oh,
come up here.
Oh.
Jonesy.
Aw, cute.
But she gets it into the engine, turns the engine on, and then we finally get the ending to this creature.
Or do we?
Or
Considering it just gets
do
blown
we?
into space, you don't really
Yeah.
see it.
Well,
Yeah.
at least we get it away.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is enough.
Yeah, also
Uh,
establishing that these things don't need to breathe. So there is
Yes.
that. So
is it establishing that?
it was
Well,
moving around in the vacuum of space.
Well, anything can survive for a couple seconds at least, right?
I not
I mean,
very well.
Princess Leia just brought herself all the way across the thing.
I don't
Like
want to
it's
talk about that.
oh,
Please.
how do giant explosions work in space? And what was this ship made out of? Because that thing went off like a fucking supernova when it went off.
Well, they were mining some kind of ore, right? So I
Hmm.
don't know if the ore is necessarily explosive, but the fact is that it had a large amount of tonnage.
It went and then it went, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Damn, that thing is like a star collapsing! Holy crap!"
I mean, I assume it had a fusion reactor giving it power, but even so, that's a gigantic freaking explosion. I agree.
Yeah,
Still better than the
Explode.
fire burning freely in space in freaking Ahsoka. I
No.
hated
I don't
that
know
so
I
much.
don't know what you're talking about. That show was perfect.
I mean, it's not entirely off topic for this, considering how much Star Wars was like inspired this series. So
Yeah, yeah. So also fire and explosions in space. I mean, Hollywood doesn't have the best track record with
True.
physics in a vacuum and zero gravity.
Well, I get why they do it for the spectacle, but
Yeah.
look, if
a
you want more
slow
realism, go
implosion
watch
could just be
Firefly.
boring.
All right. So we that obviously the story. We covered a little bit of the special effects. I also want to make, as I usually do, a call out to the music because I
Oh,
think
please do, Dan. Please do.
Oh.
the music in this is so iconic and unnerving. It is that weird. It's the weird parts of horror. Oh my God. Okay. So Cody's holding some things back here, and it seems like mostly bile.
Well,
So
no,
I'm
it's a chest burster.
Oh.
no,
Did
you're not
they
a fan of the creepy picado element?
they had the do you think they had the tagline for the movie before the movie was done, or did they create that after the movie was done? Anybody know the timeline on that?
I
I'm
do
not
not
sure, in
offhand.
all
Just
honesty.
out of curiosity, because maybe they had the tagline first, and then they were like, "Oh, sound doesn't travel in space. That's why we're going to have 93.2% of the movie silent. No background music, no suspenseful tension music, no sound effects, no nothing. Just yep,
I mean, what music there is sort
Ah,
of it's unusual for a horror movie. It's not or the orchestral stings or the
Right.
that sort of thing. It's almost melodic at times, but a little off key, a little disjointed, a little echoey. So it gives it a very different feel from a lot of your standard, more high octane horror movies, shall we say? Which, whether good or bad, it is part of the movie's identity. I would certainly credit it for that. And used sparingly, it's just it is to kind of accentuate the isolation, I guess, the complete lack of any escape, any outside influence on their situation. They are stuck there. They have only themselves. There's nothing aside from their own ingenuity or resourcefulness and resources that they can draw on. And I might be reaching a little bit for that, but I do feel like the silence and the sparse use of music kind of helps to illustrate just how alone they are.
there's another great movie that's almost silent the whole way through called THX 1138, and boy, is that movie boring also. I didn't say also. I meant boring, not also. Boring.
I've never actually seen that
Slick.
one.
No one has, Justin. No one's made it through it.
Well,
Oof.
George
we're
Lucas.
obviously
That's it.
Ugh.
it's obviously John Williams had a lot to do in the 70s and 80s, and this was just not something he could get to.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like a, yeah.
All
Oh,
right, so
yeah.
I talked about the music. One of the other elements you could talk about is just the kind of franchise spin-off. Cody, like you asked earlier, was there any intention? I think just shortly, it seems like no, but I think with the success of this movie, I mean, it took another 8 to 10 years. So it was not a speedy sequel that came
Mhm.
out, but then I think it seems like every single thing since is sped up, and now with this TV show, my guess is that this will probably be another one that we get something out of every 2 to 3 years in some form, just based on how things are going right now.
Hmm.
Looks like 185 mil for the box office gross back in the day, which is about roughly 900 million, a little less than today.
Oh, wow.
So pretty big hit.
For
$11
something that
million
obviously did
budget,
not have a big budget. There you go. Yeah.
Mhm.
which, would be not that much.
It is, I guess, from what I understand of movie making, it is usually a safe bet to bet on horror. It's because the budgets are usually smaller, and even though it's targeting a niche audience, because you don't have as much to recoup, you're probably going to make something of a profit. So horror is almost always profitable unless you completely shit the bed and just make every mistake possible and make a film no one wants to see. So.
Which a lot of people have.
Off Birdemic.
Mm. Did Birdemic ever get a theatrical release?
Nobody knows.
Oh God, I hope not.
I hope not too.
Well, if Dave ever told you a story when he exposed me to that thing, and I fought against it for about an hour, and then after that, I just went catatonic.
It's a valid response to being exposed to Birdemic.
Yes.
Also, any Neil Breen movie, really.
Does not have a theatrical box office, it says.
Well, that's good.
Birdemic 3, however,
Oh,
Oh God.
I knew
due
there
to
was a
its
two.
due to its limited release in New Zealand, had a grand wide world gross of $758.
No, really?
Three digits, people.
Holy shit.
That is, that's got to be some sort of record.
Does that even
Amazing.
like pay for the prints or whatever? Jesus.
I doubt
no.
it.
Probably not. Oh.
Print,
Amazing.
come on, it was a puppet show.
It was
All
clip
right.
art. Oh,
Goodness.
So wrapping up on our Alien podcast here. Any other element or item we want to talk on before we get to the ratings?
um, I mean, I think most of what I would say, especially if I go after Cody, is going to probably be encapsulated in the rating I give. but I think we touched most of the important points of the presentation, the acting, the set design, the cinematography, that sort of thing. Um, I'm fine, I think, just going into ratings.
I would just
Oh.
say this, which I guess kind of overlaps with my concluding thoughts here as well, because it sounds like I'm shitting on this a lot. Um, I'm a fan of classic movies, and I'm a fan of the movies that are considered to be classics as well, of which this is clearly one for many, many, many people out there. I think for a variety of reasons, which you guys have kind of touched on here a little bit tonight. But I feel like a lot of movies from the 60s and 70s, maybe the 80s as well, when you watch them, you're well aware that you're watching a movie from a different decade. And that comes through in this one as well. But I don't know that I feel like it looks as good for its age compared to a lot of its contemporaries. And I'm probably in the minority on that. It could just be because, I mean, what's the trick to the movie, right? They're putting 75% of the movie in darkness. So it's pretty hard to see. Plus, it's sci-fi mixed with horror, and you're on a ship, and it's entirely different than having like a killer stalking you through the streets or whatnot, where you might get a glimpse of light here and there or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but some of the makeup effects, I don't know. I just in my head, I think they're better, and then I watch the film, and I'm like, or not. Like
Oof.
they just don't look as good. They haven't aged as well. Particularly like I think the face hugger looks awesome. That held up really, really well. The chest burster, not as much, other than the scare of it all. I mean, that's fantastic still. Like the actual makeup of it is not as great. And then, like I said, there's just scenes where the alien itself was picturing like a guy in the side just like doing this with his arms, and I was like, what are we doing right now? Like, is he gonna kidnap her? What is happening right now? Like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying here. I guess I'm saying I think classic movies are classic for a reason, and some of them age better than others. Not to say this is not a classic, but elements of this I don't think have aged as well. And like now on the flip of that, I will say as well, I mentioned I really liked the scene where they were on the planet and they saw that spaceship for the first time. And I just saw that as I was watching the trailer here as well, and like the way that's presented almost kind of looks like a really, really forerunner to like found footage stuff of them like seeing that spaceship and like you're kind of like watching it through their visor almost as they're seeing it, which I think that looks awesome. But yeah, anyway.
Okay.
Good. I mean, sounds like you have a pseudo rating ready to go here. Are you ready to put a number on it?
I can. I'll go first with this then. So we talked about presenting this as one of our long running classic of crap installments with over eight usually classic, under six kind of crap in between somewhere is kind of in between somewhere. But this is a movie that I have shown in multiple film clubs that I've ran with students at different high schools, because I do think there's a lot that is a early attempt to do some of these horror things, particularly space horror, which I mean still is in video games. I feel like that's been represented better than probably on film through the years. But there's a lot to enjoy here, but I do think some parts of this just don't hold up well with me. So if it sounds weird for me to say, I think that this can be a classic, but tonight I am going to give it a label of crap. That's where I'm at. So I'm going to give this a just under the mark 5.99 as my score tonight for Alien. Suck it,
Ooh.
Joe.
Ouch.
What you get for camping all weekend and complaining about it secretly.
Oh man.
Hope your wife doesn't listen to this podcast.
Oh man. All right. Wow. I will admit there are pacing issues in Alien. I mentioned like the one scene, but in general, it does. There are long stretches of build up or just everyday life, which aren't necessarily inherently bad by any stretch. But the movie is roughly 2 hours long, and I don't necessarily know it needed to be. I mean, those scenes could have still been included. Some of them could have been trimmed back. Some of them could have been like maybe redone a little bit to make it flow a bit better. But I will grudgingly give a nod to Cody and say that there are parts of this that did feel like they dragged a little.
How do you have a
But
2 hour movie with only 7 characters and still only have a personality for two of them? And
that
just barely.
I was going to get to that.
Okay, sorry.
Like it's okay, but like going back to Dallas because he's like the worst perpetrator in this. He's nominally the captain and should be concerned about the well-being of his crew, even if he doesn't like them, even if he's only in it for the paycheck, even if he just wants to get back home, whatever the case may be. And he seems like he doesn't want to be there. Like not necessarily him as a character, but him as an actor. He seems like he doesn't want to be there. And I don't know if there was something in like he took the job just because he needed the money or what. And that happens sometimes in movies. Actors will take a job just to pay the bills or just because they owe someone a favor or something, and they just sort of like sleepwalk through their lines. That's what it felt like he was doing here. There were some higher points, like with Parker and Kane, like you said, like with Ripley, especially as she grew, through the film. Jonesy, I mean, it's hard not to love Jonesy. He was just awesome. Um, but there were, I don't know, I didn't have as much of a problem with the cast as you did, but there were a few elements that really I felt like they could have been acted better, portrayed better. Anyway, now that I've addressed all or a lot of what Cody has brought up, it's undeniable how influential Alien has been. It came out, what did I say, 46 years ago at this point, and it has influenced media as a whole across like various types of media, other movies, games, books, TV shows. Like its influence is felt decades later, and continues to be, not just with its own properties, but like look at, I mean, I have my background here. Look at Contra. There are literal like copyright infringing aliens that are running through xenomorphs that are running through some stages of this just because that design is so iconic. You'll see references to it in like TV shows, anime, even like video games, books, it just in terms of like references to a scene or to a theme or just takes on this to try to recapture its magic and usually not succeeding. Alien is a cultural touchstone because it made such a splash. The sequels were very very hit or miss, and a lot of its imitators were very very hit or miss. But there's something about it that just resonates, that endures, and that deserves recognition. For that reason alone, this is a classic in my book. So it's it's not a perfect movie by any means. It's not even as good as Aliens, which is, I think, still the high point of the series. Um, but it's really it really deserves to be watched. It deserves to be recognized for what it's contributed. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. All right. Well, very similar. In Justin, you just mentioned about how you think that Aliens is the high point. I will give my bias right away. Aliens is literally my favorite film, period. So,
Wow.
Nice.
like to give you a preview of like what's coming up next in the series, I'm gonna gush for quite a bit. I view this film as the legwork you have to do to get to that.
Hmm.
And very similar to how I mentioned, the first 45 minutes were kind of a slog because very little happens. Like that mentally is kind of like what I consider the entire movie. It obviously sets up the bigger franchise. It sets up Aliens. It's something we had to do, but it is the vegetables before you get to like the awesome hamburger that is the main meal of Aliens. So I do, I kind of view it a little bit like the flip of Cody, which is he's seeing like acknowledging that it is a classic, but it has all these problems. I view it as it has a lot of problems, but I think it is a classic, like even in spite of the problems. And then I also I cannot, and that's the reason I'm saying I cannot separate it from what comes next.
You
So I
gotta
just
keep them
like,
separated.
oh, so definitely acknowledging there's a lot of problems. And again, I prep people when I show them this. I'm like, sit in. There's not going to be anything for quite a while, and then finally some stuff starts happening. With that, I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Dig in.
Okay.
Some dude's gonna lose a lot of milk.
Oh, one other thing I do want to give a shout out to, and perhaps the thing I am most grateful to Alien for inspiring, something that I think has become my favorite tabletop RPG, Mothership. Mothership
Hmm.
is essentially Alien except weirder. Down to the character classes, which are like android, scientist, teamster, which is like the guys from the first movie, and space marine. Those are the character classes. But and all of the basic thematics of it are very entrenched in Alien and Aliens. But it takes that and it does. It's like, okay, so what if we expanded the like that kind of universe where space is hungry and wants to eat you, and what if we just did more with it?
Hmm.
And it works amazingly well at capturing that feel and that sense of paranoia and the walls closing in around you as escape becomes less and less likely.
Yeah.
So uh any tabletop players out there, if you're looking for something that captures the feel of Alien, Mothership 100% can 10 out of 10 cannot recommend enough. Incredible game. So yeah, I am thankful to Alien for that, if nothing else, because I've had so much fun playing that.
Well, I
So
will also thank Alien for one of my top 10 favorite video games of all time, StarCraft, which is also very similar to what's happening here. A little bit
Yeah.
different,
mm,
but colonization spin on what's happening here.
Yeah.
You
Like,
said Space Marine, and that totally jogged my memory, and I was like, oh yeah.
yeah.
oh
To
yes.
jump ahead with the nugget, just because you brought up StarCraft, there is literally props and sets in the next movie that they brought in as parody references in StarCraft. So,
Wow.
like, yeah,
Yes.
I'll be interested to see if you pick those up. I'll put that out there for you to look for.
Interesting, interesting. Well, StarCraft showed out 2 weeks in a row. Look at this. This is crazy.
Hmm.
Seems like a theme. Well, while
Also,
we're on,
Justin, I did want to get back to you from earlier. I did look up online, inconclusive, but according to AI, Tom Skerritt was neither on any drugs or intoxicated during filming.
I did. I
Well,
found a
that's
note
good.
saying
Yeah.
Tom Skerritt was approached for this movie with the initial budget and declined it because of that budget. Later, when the budget doubled, that's when he finally said, "Okay, I will take it now." So
That makes
the
sense.
paycheck of this did weigh in very heavily towards his decision to participate.
Oof.
So you're telling us we could have had an even half interested Tom Skerritt than what we
Could it
got?
be? Could
Wow.
be.
Wow.
It
Wow.
could have been Burt Reynolds. That's all I'm saying.
Just
He
throw
would
Nick.
he would have volunteered to be the guy that got the face hugger on him just to be done
Right.
quicker.
Oh man.
That's funny.
uh,
But while we're speaking about casting and stuff, one tiny little thing, Ripley's character was originally supposed to be a male, like in the first
oh,
couple editions of the script. And
huh.
apparently there was no like major driving factor for switching that, which is interesting.
Yeah. And the rest is history. I mean, she is one of the coolest and most iconic horror heroes, in cinema, I'd say.
Right?
I can't
Yeah.
believe you didn't say, believe it or not, Ripley was supposed to be a guy.
Oh,
Oh.
I missed. Well, I'm glad you caught that.
All right.
Ah.
Okay, well, adding the scores together, I'm seeing an average of stupid math. 7.23.
Oof. Joe is going to have words.
Well, then he can
Point.
jump on the next cast.
Yeah,
Well, maybe we'll give him
Yeah.
a chance to do it retroactively on the Aliens one.
There
there we
was
go.
something else. Oh, I was going to say, Dan, you said the next one's your high mark. I was just for reference point here on IMDb with 1 million people voting, that's a pretty good subset of viewers. Alien has an 8.5. Aliens has an 8.4.
What?
Really?
So
Huh.
we
That's
shall see.
fine. I can't make people be right.
That's true. I've tried.
Mm.
All right, we've got our rating. So, any closing thoughts?
Well, I think numerically that does put it in the classic category, I think. So I'm happy about that at least, because it does deserve it. And I'm looking forward to revisiting some of the other films in this series, especially Alien 3, which I haven't seen in a really long time. So
It'd be
Yeah,
interesting.
I'd echo that just because, like I said, I'm almost positive. Like I wouldn't swear to everything on it, but I don't think I've seen Aliens, and I know I've never seen anything past that. So maybe I'll be the weird guy who likes Alien 3 the best or something.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
We'll see how this all goes.
All right.
Sounds good. Spooktober
Excellent.
has kicked off, everybody.
There we go. Stay spooky.
Spooky. All right, bye everybody.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.